Okay, welcome back to the Hammond Built channel. Today, instead of working on the E36, there's lots to do there, I need to work on my daily driver Mk4 wagon. I have a set of e-brake cables here. Just came in a couple days ago that I need to replace as mine do not work at all. And then while we're at it, hopefully we get around to these. I had a set of HSD, I believe they were front upper top hats for a G35. I milled them down so they fit within the cups in the front of the Mk4. Some ISC spring locators, not sure what to call them truly, but they've cleaned all those up from a couple other suspensions that I have laying around. We're gonna install those, but first we're gonna get to the Mk4 and all its problems. So what we're gonna have to do is we need to remove our front center console, our middle center console, and our armrest out of here. If I'm not mistaken, it's about a half dozen or so Phillips screws. So I'll go and grab some of those, and we'll get removing this. Get the back end up and off the ground so I can get to the cables, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I forgot you need a T20 Torx. There's a screw in the bottom middle of your ashtray. You're going to remove that, which I already have. And then you're going to push forward on your ashtray, pull it up, and unplug your cigarette lighter. Clearly somebody has removed mine and never put it back, and needs to be cleaned very badly. I just picked this up, by the way. This isn't an old car of mine. It is utterly disgusting. You're gonna unclip your shifter boot, pull that up out of the way, and then we gotta remove all the screws. So I'm completely wrong. All the screws holding it are the Torx. My last one were Phillips, so we will continue with this. Do you need to remove this part? Probably not. If I do it just... Honestly, it needs to be cleaned is one of the big ones here. As you can tell, it's pretty dirty. Make sure to remove that. And out comes your console. Take that out of the place just so it's clean. Okay, now we've got that. Okay, so we have one screw I can see that's actually there. This one's missing. So slide your seat back. Okay, now the next part is remove the rear cup holder, and then this piece just pops out, and there's two more Torx in here. Okay, with your Torx back there removed, then I believe, yep, the sides will pop off of your center console, of your armrest here. Kind of a bitch to get out. I shouldn't have the seat all the way back. And then we have what I believe is a 12 or a 13 mil. I'm gonna go grab one of those, and then the whole armrest will come up out of the way so that we can get the console up and out of the way to get to the cables. we got that. Now with the bolt removed, armrest out. Put it to the side with the rest of your interior. As you can see, the other side now comes off. Now, with all that out of the way, if I'm not mistaken, there's a screw under here. Okay, so no screw under there. Pull up on the Ebrake a little bit, and your whole console will come. If your seat doesn't get in the way, it'll come up and out of the way. Now with your console and everything out of the way, which will all be cleaned before it goes back in because it's atrocious, we now have access to the Ebrake cables. As you can see, they come in here. It might seem like it's good, but there you go. The cables are shot. They are completely torn, and it finally broke free, which I've been waiting for. So now we're going to get the back end of the car up and work on actually getting these things out from underneath the car. Now if you own a Mk4, you know it's a 17 mil. Now, jack up your car. Best spot I've found is just use the toe point on the back. It actually works pretty good, as long as your jack is actually all the way seated. Now with the wheels off, we have our Ebrake cable that is running right there. And the real reason for doing this is, bought the car, and as you can see, that one's missing. The Ebrake itself moves nice and free, which is very good, but the cable's gone. So what we're gonna have to do is get under here, and you follow that cable up and around. It goes into the center, up under here. I wonder if I can get the color to work. But it goes into a, right there actually, if I'm not mistaken, is where it turns into the steel tube that goes into the car, up and around right there. So since they're disconnected inside, all we have to do is undo it from right here, which clearly that one's pretty gone, and then do the same on that side. So grab yourself a little pry tool, and then, so what you're gonna do is wiggle this mount loose. It's 2 threaded pieces on a steel little clip. It's going to be a pain, so I'm going to set you down for a second. Okay, so when I pulled it out, it decided to come out of the body as well, which is fine because it just clips on right about here onto the chassis, which is just a little plastic clip that it clips into. So we're going to pull this cable out and feed our new one in. Okay, now with our cable, we're going to clean all this gunk off. Now, let's see if I'm in the camera. Got to get it out of here. So what you're going to do is hold this and grab a pair of channel locks and twist it till it comes free, and then pull out the cable. Now, with your new cable, what I like to do, put a little bit of lube on that edge. Honestly, beforehand, grab your little brush and clean out the edge of the tube. It's probably full of gunk, as mine is, and it wouldn't seat. So clean that out, make it pretty, then try this all again. Probably won't go easily. But you want it seated all the way down. Know that your cable is, the white part should be basically protruding from the end of the tube with enough room to be able to pull. Now we're going to get back underneath the car and install this, and then repeat it to the other side. So under your car, you're going to go along, as hard as this is to see both ways. You have to snake it in through the little rubber bushing up there, which it'll seat itself into the hole under the console. And then clip it onto that clip. Okay, now with that, you're gonna put in the little twist tie that's right here. So you got that. Then your clip from earlier, it had a little tooth that it sticks in there. So you're gonna take that, it goes like this, wrap it around the steel little indent here. It's gonna go like that. Snips on. So you'll have it in place like this. Seated. There's no clip, oddly enough. I don't know if they're supposed to be. Don't remember. This goes here. It'll push all the way in like that. Then you'll take your cable, push it back because there's slack. Slide it over the pins, and then that's seated. Then you go inside. You got your cable hanging out right here. And what we'll have to do first is the adjustment bar. Loosen off the adjustment all the way, which will be a 10 mil, but it's currently just spinning, so you gotta, oh no, this one's loose enough to spin by hand, so loosen it all the way off, and then get the adjustment bar set onto, or the balance bar right there, get it set on this one, and then we're going to go do the passenger side, and then we will adjust our e-brake handle to just grab enough with about 3 or 4 clicks up. So I'll be right back. So onto the passenger side here, there is actually a clip, which I'm gonna have to order one, find one. Is it gonna be a big deal on the other side? Probably not, but should probably get one to replace it. But we're gonna get this out. As you can see, it was disconnected. I think the last guy said there was resistance and it wasn't working, which there's play in there. That means that's not seized if I can move it by hand. I believe it's because that other cable was completely seized through. Neither side worked. So we're replacing both sides. So I'll get back in 1 minute. Got the passenger side out, new cable installed. Again, make sure you seat that all the way down. It helps to keep all the road grime out of here and locking up that inner Teflon. You just don't want anything bad happening to that, because then you get cables like these. Admittedly, the inside edge after that point, they are good. You can definitely see on the inside of these lines where the rust has made its way up and through, which means these are probably the original cables from this. You can see they're pretty tore up. They've seen some shit. Canada and Southern Ontario in general is not nice to your cars, so that's what happens after a few years, admittedly. It's a '04, so 21 years of driving. And like I said, those are probably the original cables. So it was definitely time for it. These ones here, if anybody's wondering, I got them off Amazon. They're the A Premium cables for the Mk4 Jetta. They're good for the Jetta, Jetta Wagon, and Golf. I had these on my last Golf. They were great. And I believe I put them on my last Jetta. Honestly, they're, if I'm not mistaken, they're under $40 shipped, which isn't a bad price for both. All the reviews are good. My last two I had for 5 or 6 years each. Cables never had a problem, which is not bad for 30 bucks, to be completely honest. Okay, so now we've got the other one in. Like I said, this one has a clip. I'm gonna go get a clip at some point for the other side. At least it's easy to install with the wheels on. Is it 100% necessary? I'm not sure, but you should get it. Now back to the inside. We got our new cable from the passenger side, new cable from the driver's side. Pull it all the way forward. Take your balance bar and slide it over. Now they're tight to each other. What you need to do is tighten that up till there's just a little bit of pressure, and then we will adjust it so that we have the right amount of pull. As you can see, it already works. I can feel the brakes pulling on it, but there is no engagement on the lines until till about 2-3 clicks. Right there is where I truly want it to be pulling down on. If not, right there, I'll want a little bit more pressure. So what we're going to do is tighten that nut on the end of the adjuster to take all the slack out of it right now, and then go from there. Because there's not a whole lot, as you can see. Probably about a 1/4 inch of slack in there, which is what accounts for how far you have to go before it grabs. Which is nice that I can feel them moving. I know my shoes aren't locked up. Okay, so you can see the ball right there for the brake line. We're going to watch that arm swing down and then come back up. And as you can tell after pulling it, there's no gap here, which means that this arm is not seizing. If you pull on your e-brakes or your parking brake and it pulls all this down and you let go and this does not come right back up to this stop, you have a seizing e-brake assembly, which is, there's a worm screw that goes through there that pushes on your piston to grab onto your brakes. Yes, I need brakes really bad. That's one of the next repairs for this thing, is a full set of pads and rotors, all 4 corners. It stops all right now. Definitely not great. They're horrible. But we're gonna watch this on video and you'll see it pull all the way down and then come back up. And to ensure that it's not locked, you can see I still have the ability to spin these. Again, they are horrible, but that's how you do this. I'm gonna go clean my entire console up and put it all back. For you guys, it's just the reverse of the assembly. So to add a little to this, I cleaned the inside of my wheels. They were as black as the wheel wells are. Now they're nice and clean again. So this should look a lot better. I'm gonna do the fronts when I put the top hats on, but we're gonna install the back wheels, get it on the ground, and clean the interior pieces. Okay, so with the wheels off and the top hats out, this is our old setup. Pair of washers sit on the top of the shock, spring perch, bearing, rubber isolator. We're gonna be going to this. And essentially what I'm looking to gain is the height difference between these is a little bit. So bring the spring up just a bit so I don't have to, so I can bring the spring up and get more shock travel out of it. What I need to determine is whether this is going to be the top or that's going to be the top. So if it's going to be mounted in the car like this, or like this. This brings everything down that much, or the other way brings it up that much. And it'll change where the spring rides. This will fit the spring better than that because it actually sits quite a bit lower and gets stuck on it. So we're going to get to installing these and see how they fit. Okay, so we got our Tophat in place. The HSDs are nice because they have a two-piece. This piece essentially holds in that upper bearing, which I've got a washer in there to hold it back into place so it doesn't find its way out anymore. And then I had to shave the inside of these. I didn't realize how much wider the shock is for them to sit on. So I had to grind that out a little bit, same with the top piece. These are gonna slide back in. I wish I had a little bit more thread up top. I think it's enough for a lock nut to grab onto. I'm gonna put a little bit of blue Loctite up there to ensure it doesn't come out of place, but now this actually goes up and sits on there instead of the old way where this used to barely ride on this edge of the old shock mounts or spring perches. So now that's gonna ride there. Not only that, but we've now added a bearing here, which will help with steering because before it was juddering. I think the old bearing was pretty bad. The Bilstein kit that came on this car is very nice. It's an inverted shock, so it's probably one of the best Bilstein kits you can get. Everything rotates nice and freely, regardless of how it looks. It actually is in great shape, but we're gonna get that fully tightened down, get the other side set up, and we're gonna see if this lowered my car at all or if it raised it. If it lowered it, we're gonna bring the spring back up to bring it back to where I had it for a ride height, as I don't want to go too much lower. I'm already maxing out and banging, I believe, the other drive shaft off the sway bar. Yeah, you can see it right there, that big line. That is rubbing on the bottom of my sway bar, which is not good from being low. So we're gonna make sure that we're not any lower than we were. Okay, we've got them fully installed. What I've noticed is I'm gonna have to get short lock nuts, which is no big deal. I have those at work for both sides. I need to find one more screw as I've lost one. Again, not a big deal. This has a nice ridge in the bottom, so it actually seats right on the inner edge of this shock tower, strut tower. We go underneath. I got clearance up here, which is what I was looking for as well. Everything is nice and smooth like I was hoping, and now to put it back on the ground. So, slight update. I realized I had to carve about 4 mil out of the inside. This orange plate was locking down on the shock and this was locking in, so the bearing actually didn't work. So now there's enough space when it all gets bolted down. This will still spin freely on the top. Sorry, this will still spin freely on here as it should. Now we're gonna go put it back together. Okay, so I got them fully installed. Wheels are back on. One of the main reasons I made these was mine were so collapsed that I had 4 or 5 degrees camber with the rubber mounts. Now I'm back to more of a OEM amount of camber, which is nice. They drive great. They got rid of the squeak of my pump, which I'm guessing those factory ones that I have hiding over there were just holding them up. So this is all done. We got our e-brakes done today, got the top hats done, and it's been a decent day even though the weather's absolutely atrocious. Cleaned the wheels up nice too. They're looking way better. So, hope you all have a good day, and like, comment, and subscribe.